Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing this Vintage Breitling Chronomatic reference 2114 AOPA cosigned dial. You can see on purchase this vintage automatic Breitling chronograph on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full listing for this watch with additional accessories included, high resolution images, and naturally complete pricing details. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, you can see that this watch is of a different era in size and proportion. Now nothing gets enthusiasts revved up like true vintage timepieces, and Vintage Breitling at the moment is a bit of an overlooked growth sector where prices are quite reasonable, selection is excellent, the watches are mechanically and historically significant, and a lot of classics have yet to be claimed by the enthusiast fraternity, the collector fraternity. That's why right now they represent some of the great opportunities, undervalued ones, within the vintage segment, especially since this caliber, jointly developed by the likes of Buren, Hamilton, Breitling, and Heuer, can be found in watches multiples of the price of this Breitling Chronomatic 2114. Get them while they last. So let's talk about size. Like I said, vintage. This is a watch out of our time. It's built to a different scale, that of the late 60s, early 70s, and these ran from approximately 1969 to 1973 with the caliber 11 improved that's inside this model. Now, of course, 39 millimeters across the broad of the case from 3 to 9. That doesn't include the reverse-mounted setting and winding crown, nor does it include the chronograph pushers. The watch is relatively slim because it is a micro rotor automatic, so they were able to minimize the height to an extent. 14.5 millimeters, a good deal of that due to the domed acrylic crystal. Now in terms of lug to lug, again, very compact in the vintage vein. 45 millimeters from lug to lug across the wrist. You can easily wear this watch on a wrist down to 13, perhaps 13.5 centimeters in circumference. Now the watch has a cushion style case, which is both very 70s in its profile, but also very comfortable in its wear. It distributes its mass nicely, and it has a nice combination of character lines along its flanks. So while it is somewhat soft and voluptuous from the top, it's a little bit harder and more masculine in profile. Now the bracelet is a period correct 3-link folded link design that features a single fold deployant remaining crisp to this day. It's exceptionally intact for a period piece, and it wears light and easy on the wrist. It actually feels more substantial than Rolex bracelets of the time. Now in terms of the finish and feel of the case, the watch has good heft on the wrist, thanks to a fairly substantial bracelet and the fact that it does have a large screwed-on case back, which you can see to good effect. Please note this vintage model does feature a little bit of personalization in as much as those 3 initials. Perhaps the original owner, perhaps a later owner, perhaps a collector of some note, who knows, use your imagination, but it's a relatively inoffensive and inconspicuous personalization, nevertheless something I do want to call out immediately. Now in terms of condition, and condition is big in the vintage market, the watch overall is perhaps 75 to 80 points out of 100. Points being deducted for one refinish of the case, I can see, points perhaps being deducted for the condition of the tachymetric scale bezel, but it is important to note, however, that the dial, perhaps the most important part of a vintage timepiece, is a 95 out of 100 point piece. Original tritium plots, original tritium dial, and day-glow original factory hands which tell no lies. You can see the finish on them. First, on the high-resolution images that I'm taking here, run this one at 1080p if you want to see the best of this watch. But please also go on our website and look at our high-resolution images of this timepiece that will vouch for its condition. If people handle hands like this inappropriately, if there's any damage, again, the bright finishing of them shows immediately, as do the sub-registers. Everything from the Breitling signature to the AOPA logo at 6 o'clock, many of these were originally retailed by the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, as were the Navitimer forebears of the Breitling line. So this watch has a great deal of historic significance as original Willie Breitling, but also as an original AOPA retailed accessory. That's a lot of credibility, and to a Breitling enthusiast, that means more than a co-signature from any retailer such as Cartier or Turler or Tiffany. Whatever you can imagine, Patek and Rolex guys, that's what the AOPA wings mean to Breitling collectors. And again, fantastic condition, original, unretouched, perhaps even untouched in any respect. This dial is spectacular. Now inside is what's known as the Caliber 11i, so still operating at the original automatic winding, caliber 11 chronographs, 19,800 vibrations per hour. This one's a little bit more highly evolved. Now you can verify just by turning over the date change. This one starts a bit earlier than the original Mark I jump date caliber 11. So it's a bit more robust, and that's good. For a watch that's now well over 40 years old, having a little bit more design substance, a little bit more solidity is reassuring for the collector and makes the watch more wearable on a daily basis. Now it's a 17 joule micro rotor automatic based on a Buren base with a Dubois de Praz module. It's historically significant, and on top of that it remains very usable with a chronograph seconds, minutes, and hour register. It's pretty much everything you need in one place for a vintage watch. Discreet enough and tasteful enough to wear with formal attire. It's also sporty enough to wear with short sleeves and shorts. Just don't take it in the water, as all of the usual vintage timepiece rules apply. You can see and you can purchase this Breitling Chronomatic reference 2114 on our website.